have to draw it out. If this is our DevOps framework where we are deploying the piece of code into our production environment, then these people are focusing on agility, while our SRE guy sitting here is focusing on the stability of the system. So what makes SRE such a promising career opportunity? What makes SRE such a trending tech skill? We'll understand in this video. So in this video, we'll cover how SRE came into the world of IT, its history, what exactly SRE role is all about, what is the roles and responsibilities of an SRE engineer. We'll also understand the key skills, the tech skills, as well as some soft skills and IT skills which will be needed for you to succeed into any SRE role. We'll also understand the bro code which is shared between SRE and DevOps. These are two very interlinked concepts, so we'll just touch base upon what exactly these two concepts are and how these are different from each other. And at the end of this video, we'll see some specific LinkedIn job postings. I have taken some snippets out of these job postings to understand what company expects from any SRE engineer. So we'll understand that so that we better know that what is expected from us when we join a company as SRE engineer. So I hope by the end of this video, we'll have a fair understanding of site reliability engineering, what it is, what SRE role is, and if this is a role which we could pursue in IT. So SRE was originally coined at Google in the year 2003 as an extended DevOps practice. So Google asked Google engineers to make large-scale sites more reliable and scalable, secure and efficient. And that's when they realized that they need a specific discipline to cater to these needs which were not possibly catered by DevOps alone. And that's when they coined this term site reliability engineering, which is by the name itself is quite self-explanatory. This discipline was primarily focused on managing the systems and making sure that the systems are reliable and systems could run on its own with least amount of errors, which we'll go into specific details as to what these SRE engineers actually do. But this is a brief history. So if we have to see the evolution of this whole practice, this whole discipline, then in the beginning, in traditional IT, if you see, in traditional IT there was dev and then there was ops. And then there was a continuous tussle between these two because you know all the reasons. I've made a specific video on DevOps, so you can check that out as well. So we progressed from this to a more standard DevOps practice where we were continuously building the code, testing it and deploying it. And these DevOps engineers were making sure that we will have fast iterations and more agility as far as deploying the code to production is concerned. But even then, the IT was still there. And the way these developers were pushing the code into production was something which was which was adding more friction, because understand from a DevOps engineer perspective, they were more focused on developing the code and making fast iterations, making fast product increments using DevOps practices. But once it is in production, there was no one to ensure that whatever code is being shipped into production is completely reliable. It was all traditional IT. Which was responsible for it, and that also was not sufficient. And that's when SRE came into picture, and it acted as a bridge between DevOps and traditional IT. If you see, if this was dev and this was ops and this was DevOps, then this was SRE. So SRE acted as a bridge. SRE ensured that whatever DevOps teams are developing, SRE engineers will ensure that those products, those systems are reliable enough, and then once it is completely stabilized, they will move it into the hands of traditional IT. So that's the whole purpose of site reliability engineering, and that's the history of it. It has been evolving a lot ever since we have moved and progressed completely on cloud. This has become even more important because Almost all cloud native applications today are based on agile methods, based on DevOps frameworks, and that's where SRE plays a huge role. So yeah, this is about the history of SRE. So let's move to the next section where we understand in detail what is SRE and what are some roles and responsibilities of SRE engineer. While SRE engineer has various roles and responsibilities, but if we have to summarize it, we can summarize it into these 5 categories. So the first and the foremost, being the software engineer himself, he has to build softwares, he has to build scripts, he has to come up with products which could make the life of DevOps team, IT ops teams and other support teams easier. So building software is a must. Fixing support issues, especially escalated issue, is the primary responsibility of any SRE engineer. We always know that there are certain SLAs, service level agreements, which any company has to adhere to, and when it comes to fixing escalated issues, priority 1 issues, there is a definite timeline in which you have to fix it. So that becomes the priority of SRE engineer. On-call rotations, because you will be supporting a worldwide audience, worldwide customer base. So on-call rotation is something which SRE engineer optimizes. They ensure that their team is there 24/7 supporting the system. Documenting tribal knowledge. This is very important because a lot of knowledge is lost when people move out from teams, when people do some stuff but never documents it anywhere. And that's also a very important purpose and very important role of SRE engineer, that they collect all this scattered information and knowledge and they document it, they store it maybe on Confluence or some other repository, because no matter who joins or who goes, the knowledge stays with the team so that it could be used later. And most importantly, they perform incident postmortem. So after any incident, any major incident, SRE engineer sits with the IT ops team, sit with the dev team, she conducts that post-mortem review so that we understand what were the root causes. But it is a blameless activity. There are no blames to be put on someone or some specific team. SRE engineer just wants to understand why it happened and what we can do to avoid it in future. So these are some core responsibilities of SRE engineer. Now let's understand what technology skills you would need if you want to transition into any SRE. So what technology you need to learn in order to transition into SRE role? Now this path is not a linear path. You have to go through a lot of different learning curves, but just to give you some guidance, you have to have coding skills. Without that, working in SRE role would be really difficult. So you need to have a grip on any of the programming languages like Python, Go, Java, Node.js. Any one language should be sufficient as far as you have that programming aptitude, or if you can build that, it should be fine. You have to understand DevOps and CI/CD framework as a whole, and also what kind of toolings which are required in maintaining DevOps and CI/CD pipelines like Git, GitHub, Ansible, Jenkins, Ergo CD. There are many, but as I said, SRE role is such a important role that this guy needs to know almost everything. If not in deep, then at least have a basic understanding of these tool set. Infrastructure management is one of the very important things. You need to understand how to provision infrastructure using Terraform, Pulumi, all these kind of tool sets. Containers and containerization is very important skill, because you need to understand how you create containers, how you use Docker, how you use Kubernetes to orchestrate these platforms, because most of these DevOps projects run on cloud using containerization, using Kubernetes. And last but definitely not the least, SRE engineer has to be a multi-cloud expert. He needs to understand AWS, Azure, GCP, Oracle, all these kind of different clouds, and how we manage systems, how we manage monitoring, logging, all these kind of things within that particular cloud.
दोस्तों आपको तो पता ही होगा, आईटी में कुछ भी करना है तो क्लाउड आना चाहिए। आजकल हर चीज़ क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग पे डिपेंडेंट है। मैंने एक कोर्स बनाया है जो है क्लाउड 101 AWS फॉर डमीज। क्लाउड कुछ भी नहीं पता तो ये कोर्स आपके लिए बहुत अच्छा है। अगर आपको क्लाउड पता भी है तो अगर आप AWS सीखना चाहते हैं तो भी ये कोर्स आपके लिए बहुत अच्छा है, बिकॉज हमने इसमें बेसिक से शुरू किया है क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग के, और उसके बाद हम ये AWS के बेसिक सर्विसेज, कोर सर्विसेज को समझ रहे हैं। हम ये भी समझ रहे हैं कि किस तरीके के क्वेश्चन आ सकते हैं क्लाउड प्रैक्टिशनर एग्जाम में और आप कैसे उस सर्टिफिकेशन के लिए अपने आप को प्रिपेयर कर सकते हैं। इसमें हम कोर सर्विसेज पे फोकस कर रहे हैं, और साथ ही साथ हम एक टेलीग्राम ग्रुप के थ्रू एक कम्युनिटी फॉर्म कर रहे हैं जहां हम एक दूसरे से अपने डाउट्स शेयर करते हैं। यू कैन ऑल्सो कनेक्ट मी ऑन लिंक्डइन, आप मुझसे बात कर सकते हैं अपने कैरियर को रिलेटेड इफ़ यू आर एनरोलिंग टू दिस कोर्स। पहले हमने इस कोर्स को 40% डिस्काउंट पे दिया था, बट लोगों ने कहा कि उनको ये अफोर्डेबल नहीं लग रहा है। मैं चाहता हूँ ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग इसे यूज़ करें, इसलिए हम एक स्पेशल ऑफर लेके आ रहे हैं 55% डिस्काउंट के साथ। यू हैव टू यूज़ कोड गेट 55 डालने के बाद आपको ये कोर्स हो जाएगा 1350 में। तो मैं ज़रूर चाहूँगा कि आप एक बार इस कोर्स की आउटलाइन को देखें, एनरोल ना करें, सिर्फ आउटलाइन को देखें। अगर आपको लगता है कि आपकी वैल्यू का है तो ही इसे एनरोल करें, और मैं बहुत मेहनत कर रहा हूँ कुछ ऐसा देने की जो आपको डेफिनेटली हेल्प करेगा आपके करियर में। सो कोर्स लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में जाके क्लिक करें, सारी डिटेल्स आपको उसमें मिल जाएंगी। एंड अगर आप वो हैं जिसे इस कोर्स की ज़रूरत है तो मैं बहुत खुश होऊंगा आपको अपने कोर्स में देखने के लिए, एज अ ग्रुप, एज अ कम्युनिटी। सो सी यू इन द कोर्स इफ यू आर इंटरेस्टेड। एंड नाउ बैक टू आवर वीडियो
environment. So apart from this, there are some other skills which are more on the operations side or business side, which are change management, risk management, managing tickets, soft skills. SRE has to be a very good communicator, written as well as verbal. Business acumen, SRE has to understand business domain. They need to understand why something is so important for the business, and SRE engineers need to be the face to the business. So they need to understand business domain and they need to have business acumen. They have to have a detective mind, not like Sherlock Holmes, but to an extent, if they can understand a problem and then if they can go step by step to the root cause of it, that kind of a detective mind, analytical mind, or problem solving mind helps a lot. So let's quickly touch base upon this common confusion between SRE versus DevOps. What is the actual difference? The first thing which I would like to add here is this is not versus, this is with. So it is SRE with DevOps. These two are brothers. There are no animosity between these two technologies. DevOps came first, and then after SRE joined it, and these two technologies complement each other a lot. So while DevOps is more of a framework, SRE is a practice or discipline. DevOps will always focus on agility, because any DevOps engineer or any DevOps framework wants to release new versions of code quickly. For example, Netflix, they want to release features every day, every hour, right? But at the same time, SRE focuses on stability, or what we say as reliability. So while Netflix wants to release those features, it should not happen that a popular show of Netflix goes offline just because they release a bug into production environment. So who ensures that does not happen? That's the responsibility of SRE. So if we have to draw it out, if this is our DevOps framework where we are deploying the piece of code into our production environment, then these people are focusing on agility, while our SRE guy sitting here is focusing on the stability of the system. So the whole focus of this SRE guy is manage this particular site. Okay, so both complement each other. There is no verses in here. Okay, so without DevOps you cannot bring new code quickly. Without SRE you cannot maintain the site. Okay, so this is a quick 2 cents from my side on this common confusion, SRE versus DevOps. Now let's quickly look at our last section, where I'll just share some snippets of LinkedIn job postings, where we'll understand how companies are posting their job requirements as far as SRE engineer role is concerned. So I tried exploring 2-3 different job postings on LinkedIn for SRE engineer role, and I have taken some key skill sets which were common across these job postings. Now don't get frightened by looking into these requirements, because the first and foremost requirement which I have highlighted at the top is ability to learn new skills. No one in the world knows everything. Okay, so don't get overwhelmed by all these requirements. If you know something and if you want to learn something, there's always a possibility. So the first and the foremost is develop, test, deploy, debug automated tasks on applications and infrastructure. We have already understood why it's important. Troubleshoot priority incidents and conduct blameless postmortems. We have already discussed this. Participate in 24/7 support, hands-on with Git, Jira, infrastructure as code as Ansible and Terraform. Now I missed Jira before, but it is a very important software because most of these DevOps projects run on Scrum and Agile principles. You need to have Jira understanding or any other any other software which is a project management software for agile projects. You need to get some understanding of that. Good to have certified Kubernetes administrator certification or AWS SysOps admin certifications. Now I have just collated it from couple of job openings, but this gives you an understanding of what kind of certifications companies are looking for. Exposure to Azure, GCP, Kubernetes and Helm. Maintain SLO, SLI error budget. So we didn't cover this in detail, but just to give you some understanding, service level objectives and service level indicators are comes before SLAs. So these does not have any legal implications, but this ensures that you can manage your SLAs better. And then there is error budget. What is error budget? Suppose if your system offers 99% of availability, 1% remaining is your error budget. Within that 1%, you could have 5 hours or 5 days, but within that time span, you have your own playground. You can free field to fail, you can implement your new scripts, you can deploy your new code, all those kind of things, ensuring that you do not exceed your error budget, because then you can hit your SLA. Troubleshoot and escalate key issues. So if we are trying to fix something, we are not able to fix it, then we have to involve relevant technical teams to fix those issues and escalate it properly. So implement telemetry and observability for real-time service quality monitoring. So telemetry is all about monitoring your data, gaining real-time logs, looking into your system, how it is performing. All these kind of things comes under telemetry and observability. And why you need it? Because you want to maintain the quality of your service given by your system in real time. And that's what is being expected out of you, that you would implement those things. Many cloud providers have telemetry products shipped within their cloud offerings, so that can be used as well. Understanding of Python, Django, shell scripting. Obviously, software engineer needs to code, needs to do shell scripting, so these kind of skills are being asked for. And last but not the least, strong Linux administration skills. Linux comes handy everywhere, but especially in DevOps and Kubernetes environments, you need to have this hands-on. So these are some skills, but don't get overwhelmed. By no means you have to tick all the boxes. As far as you have some very strong skills in some of the key areas and you are learning the other skills, I think you are very well ahead in the game. You can apply, you can go for your job interview, and if you are having a good attitude, if you have a good analytical mind, who knows, you land a job offer for SRE engineer role. So guys, this brings us to the end of this video. We started with the history of SRE, then we understood what is SRE, we understood the roles and responsibility of SRE engineer, the technical skills required to transition into this role. We also understood what is SRE versus DevOps all about, and eventually we looked into some of the LinkedIn job postings which would help us understand what is needed and what companies are looking for. So I hope this video brought some information about SRE to you, and if you found any value out of this, I would really appreciate if you could hit the like button, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you get notified when I bring my next video. And until next time guys, please keep learning, keep sharing all the knowledge, and yes, keep hustling. Bye for now.